When we talk about SQL injection, the attack normally breaks down into one of three different types of injection. And the first type, and one of the most common and easy to exploit, is error-based injection. So this is when the application is going to return errors raised by the underlying database server that we can then use to exploit the risk of SQL injection. Now this is a very basic attack because the database is actually telling us things about what is in the database. And that could be anything from table and column structures through to what the actual data is. An error-based injection attack can be enormously simple, and that's going to be the first actual attack we see in this course. In fact, we'll see it in the next clip. The next type of SQL injection I want to talk about is union-based injection. And what we're going to do with the union-based SQL injection attack is take a result set that's returned by one query that the application's actually meant to execute, and then we're going to append our own query to that existing one. So we'll actually end up with two different result sets from two different queries. One is legitimate, one is malicious, but they're all going to be returned to the application, and then all of that data is going to be pumped back out to the website. It's a great way of exfiltrating data from the underlying database because it's just so easy to get it all out. It's just all pumped out in that result set. So that's union-based injection, and we'll start to execute that in the next module. Now the third type of injection is blind SQL injection. And this is what we would consider to be an advanced SQL injection attack. And it's advanced because we have to fall back to this mechanism when neither error-based injection or union-based injection will work. We can't rely on errors from the system. We can't just pump exfiltrated data out appended to legitimate data, so the union-based injection won't work. We actually have to get a lot more creative. And it's called blind because we're not going to be able to directly see the data, not like with either of the other two attacks. So in fact, what we're going to do with blind injection is ask the database questions, and we're going to rely on the answers that come back implicitly from the database to make assumptions about the underlying structure and data. Now there are two different types of blind injection that we're going to look at. One of them is called Boolean-based blind injection. And this is going to be exploited by effectively just asking this yes or no question. So if it's yes, then do this. If it's no, then do that. And then depending on what the database does, we're going to be implicitly told about what's going on inside it. So that's Boolean-based blind injection. Now there's also time-based blind injection. And what we're going to do in this attack is we're going to ask the database to just take a little bit longer to respond if a certain condition is true. So this is a classic timing attack. And certainly in security, there are many different ways of doing timing attacks against different vulnerabilities. And it's the same with SQL injection. We're going to use this time-based blind injection to force the database to change the duration it takes to run the query. Now that might actually sound like something very minor, but it gives us answers. If we can tell it just to take an extra second based on certain conditions, and we can observe that change in timing, that is a very powerful thing. And we'll see how that works as we proceed through the course. So these are the three key types of SQL injection attack. And we're going to look at all of these throughout the remainder of the course. But where I want to start is with that error-based injection. So let's move on and see that single character test that we can use to establish if an error-based SQL injection risk exists.